We are live. Welcome back to another AV AV Premium meeting with my co-host. We have Bell and Al. Thank you guys for being.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessing of being able to get together and talk the different media realm churches. We just ask you to do as look to work through this discussion.
Me, and I actually forgot. So we're gonna do here talking about in the churches. The country is starting to, and are as AV in a position. Look like
That's a pretty short. We're still holding out future level of reality where our church is. The county that we're in being one of the areas where big numbers of it made. However, we are trying to see prepare for the, and we're doing good things to try to whether we're looking at our equipment, what's been broken, what can we fix, we'll probably be going in and doing line checks. So we'll be working with our media team to pull a lot of that stuff together really soon. That stuff isn't, the church physically, we're not going to be for a month or two.
We sing the situation be there, but they're starting to talk about different ideas of where can they go, or are they going to do something like a drive-through church? And in those discussions, part is what is ability going to be? How are we going to be able to that? Going to be what's going to be? How social distancing set of broach that subject in depth. We are having conversations about it, and part of this thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is look who's here. And how you doing?
Good. How are you?
So we conversation. Look at that, guys. Do you see that?
Highly jealous.
Some of us still
wait for them to open up the barber shop. He just had to get in.
I cut it myself.
Oh, hey, you saved a pretty penny. That's $20 in your pocket.
I cut it myself. Funeral scruff cut it before we opened.
Right. So, we had just started reopening, and now that's gonna be a What else is there? Um, just there's drive-through church. How would it be if you really just had 10 members? I don't think that's at all. What are some different that we could church these conditions?
Let's explore that. I mean, what's wrong?
Going to decide which of the 10 people.
Draft lottery. We're gonna go to the church directory. That's why you need to. Everybody needs to have their directory, and then we with generator. This whole. That's not gonna work. I mean, it's one way, practically. Just for community and people want to see their friends, and then if they don't get selected, and then there's the logistics, like if you select a member of the family, has to drop them off, and it doesn't have a ride, want to stay around. Random thing, I don't know. I have a viable solution in place for community.
On a regular Saturday, my church can seat in the main sanctuary. I was empty and I couldn't could fit in there. But 500 people could. Then when you about it, what about you can in at what time? Could you just have 10 different services and just say, okay, at least we're getting satisfied. We'll have 10-minute services. Let's shuffle them in.
Impossible. I'm gonna say that categorically impossible. And in such an abbreviated fashion.
You know,
That one.
I didn't want to touch that one.
I would be possible. I think the first.
And especially as to put out a consistent, for our to watch, and been the fact that we took their. Looking at it on, and you're just like, and it's stuff, and I'm sure we get to a point where we're back and they're going to be real.
When first,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a paradigm shift.
What isn't fellowship really? I mean, we've had the ability to sometime, and really, I mean, until this pandemic, we really didn't have the will to concentrate on online of any type, actually an afterthought for most of our denomination, whereas some really embrace be a segment of their broadcast ministry, right, or televangelism ministry, but I think a lot of us go to church because we want to see the people in church and interact with the people in church.
I would disagree. Our generation, because we actually share generational
Don't call us old.
actual space.
Not doing it.
Media as it was, our social, we actually had socials. We got together and did things. I have seen the next generation have 6 people sit at a table and not speak to each other. In their phones, to friends who weren't. I think they are socialing is distancing. It's sometimes us who we went to church. I know for myself, I was in church from the cracking open of the door to the actual locking of the door. And this next set of people, they're not like that. That will day. So part of the move is alienation. Part of the problem is administrations have been, so they're less time. And now that they've been forced into it, and now that they can roll out of bed, have on pajama pants underneath and a nice shirt on top and still deliver, I think this.
I mean,
Wants to jump in on that.
and I have been starting to station. I'm sticking by it. If you treat it like a church plant, you start developing online community, you develop rapport with people online, which is something that people have platforms like church are having in chat in hopefully a way. And I think that is something that's because church plant and be intentional about it, I think we could reach people in ways that we're not seeing. I think COVID has kind of shown look like for the people that foresight to potentially see that. That's just my
Well, are we there? If you were to guess that percentage would be?
Very low. Higher now, but still
digits.
Less than 10.
Yeah.
I think there were discussions switching to it. Now would have been like that, and we're fighting. It's a little bit of a fight, and I guess the aren't necessarily going to be. I think there are nations like you are ugly leveraged to have the impact. A youth group that's for very apt, but we're switching to that topic. I think though it's about getting comments into getting people, that's so important. Hopefully we can
Number one, these towns, skills, Wayfinder, and even if Here's a ministry that clearly existed. Who's going to set foot in the church? I'm going to watch your service. Engage with them. You throw someone in front of a text, thread. Someone who trained a theologian. Taken like the school suit, like the deacon board, and what have you, that we essentials and of it now because it would make people for back developing.
That is in that of interactivity that the audience can have now, that they in a church service you weren't allowed to stand up and say, wait, pastor, hold on a second, you said X, Y, and Z, what do you mean by that? And you're right, you've got to have someone, right? But I think this key that you can have multiple. Just one person. You can have a past colleges. I think this is a way for church members to get much more involved with the proper frame.
Yes.
The other key that you said, you got to have the proper framework. So it's not something you do and pursue to come at and having under what it is you're supposed to without the psychological, that's an excellent point.
And can I interject? And I apologize for being late. As you know, I was in a virtual graduation service. But what are we streaming to? And is there a question thread?
Did you mention that if we go to put up on the flyer is Church Pro Word 3? Prayerfully, you can get to that link. It's bit.ly /church. Please tell me it's working properly.
I never saw the flood. Yeah.
Next, we talk about how to do promotion. Pre-production and promotion.
Pre-production. But we're recording, right? So we can dump this online for folks.
Yes, we are recording.
Okay.
That actually
Lovely.
raises a very interesting question. Who handles promotion? Do you get the room to run your IG or YouTube channel? Interesting question, but I thought a little conversation to work with, and I said, can have the you better have someone that's going to care about what content is being posted and what's cultivated there. Just having it is not really there. In fact, it can be, if you have a Twitter plus tweets, Instagram with views, discussion, because they cultivate content. They're trying to scroll through. It kills me to see that, because it's, as a user, your role, that is the goal. And that's the thing that necessarily picking pushing stuff. And I search online situation is actually now you're in a way that wasn't necessarily as true to direct people to the church's website. Speaking of websites, well, the facts are so there's room on certain, whereas before grass was so in this era.
Sure, but there's tools for that, especially if you belong to a larger, the Seventh-day Baptist Church of God, or whatever that core, or every a decent website are. Right? Millions of images for free for church to put their website. They're out there. How well they're, whether people decide the wheel and by church basis advantage of the but actually, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the over the North America that does, but similar things done by others that template just low and your desire low.
We had the upper level around this same time. I didn't know that they on live. It's been at least 3 years. We missed this year. Gone live. There's segments population that have less representation than others.
So you're being very subtle, but I'll be quite blunt. Brown people, and the reason there isn't enough black, I don't know about the resource. Like all those little bins, take a penny, leave a right. So extract image, but you're supposed to positive images as well. But if you don't know the database is there, right? You don't have access to the database, right? Right? You're not taking anything from it, you're not putting anything in, right?
It gets formed in the image of the creator, which is the problem with artificial intelligence and database having these problems where there's people working on these for image recognition that someone with darker in front of the camera. You're dealing with these things and not aware of the inputs, you're not going to be found. But that's another philosophical, practical discussion for another day.
So I'm gonna drag Carell into this because he's been really quiet. I'm into this. How large is parking lot?
Oh boy.
I would say cars.
300. Your church administration came to you and said, we need you to plan for a drive-through church. Money is no object. Money is no
drive
object.
in, hopefully.
Well, up your sound.
Maybe not church.
That's right. If your administrator something for a drive-in church to accommodate 150 cars, how would you do it? Well, I want some specifics. I want what manufacturer, not what kind of use, what use, and a lot of it for the time. Go back around for video. Whole other app.
I'm gonna cheat. I mean, look, logistically, it's a bit of a nightmare, right? Because you got to think about the core of the system that you got, right? Think about power from. You got to think set up what you need to tear. A lot of people are out of work right now because things are shut down. But when they get back to going full bore again, or close, will they have the ability to be doing a single week? And it's gonna be no. You look at the mayor trying to thing together. Everything else they need to do to get stuff done well. It's not that it's impossible, but with your local volunteer organization, the question is, how will you and will that and do that week? Because it is going to be a thankless job. All right. I'm just cool about it. So what? And again, the power constraints that we have. Okay, we don't need to be blowing something like that and trying. Next question is staging. What do we do with that? And then the subject of things too, a big thing to think about. I'd rather open the church back up and limit who we would do.
Point though, somebody or colleagues had posted band and music. I'd kind of spread pushing that out. Congregation was out. Parking lot. Do they feel closer in their cars?
People in the parking lot see people. You have interactions, seeing human being, just seeing their name or what have you. I had big drawback. Several. A great thing, and I in particular from all the way down at the F to have a low power transmission. No longer in the fun to stay for what have you, what how all these FM thing to our serve power in the car that you just tune to an empty station and it's working. The problem is most people are doing it illegally, right? Now, there are some churches, I don't think the FCC has attempted to rule against any church party to do so. This environment, this climate, time, waste, and national period, right? But still, your church, you want to comply with the law. You want to be lawful and do things the right way. I'm saying that someone should have said, you know what? This is going to be something people need. We see people doing this. We've already had examples of, I believe, Wade in the act in church. Our governor here, Governor Hogan, is on reality of having distant point of view, but as far as the radio interference point of view and the FCC regulation, the CFR point of view, they've really been silent. It's kind of been nod, nod, wink, wink. Yes, we encourage. In fact, you'll see in executive orders to encourage houses of worship outside in worship, but with the right.
Well, I think that's a technology, especially as you get more in rural areas where you don't have the congestion be impacted or feasible.
Everything. So, too, but it's one where do you really time last, right? So, one thing I've suggested to people is, okay, for your audio, everyone just about has a smartphone. Get a Zoom call or WebEx or anything that low latency, right? There's also like using other audio over. And then you have a great experience there, right? But again, you have to develop it, either, get everyone an account or get the church to or dial in, or that can work. Some of the higher end phone server in the cloud, and created with this sort of sermon notes that has the songs you're going to sing in your car, has all this stuff. And just part of it is just to link into that audio church. It's not difficult to do. It's been done, but it has to be easy, affordable for the church. But there has to be the will to do it. To be safe. There's a new drive-in feature. Everyone has a client, and you can stream the audio out of ProPresenter to all those cars on their phone. Wouldn't that?
One of the good is that thought about these we pay for, and I think we need to get back to infrastructure in a second. We had reached, if it was the tools that would, or start think those same, we wouldn't have been card, which is we're already have been that difficult, right?
I think so. But example, all right. I've been trying to get us put the switcher on for like how difficult is that, right? Something that can so right. It's really not fair to think that I've from day to WhatsApp to donate to make life because automate some of their things. And the person router, what have you, just change it. Necessarily money issue. Very much isn't it? That's the impediment. Times it's really the right getting.
That we just closed is gonna be great to maintenance our lines, cleaning up our. I mean, that didn't happen. We were trying to be mindful of the distance list, but sometimes I don't know. Seems like it's even though some of these things.
I think the attention has shifted. And one of the difficult parts, especially for those of us who are not hired to do church AV, is we only have time enough to focus on what's right in front of us. And so forward plan all we're on a bus or even when we're sitting, we can think it's to be done. Implementing that, getting paid, worked out. And I think that's one of the areas where churches with full-time staffs are able to do more than churches with just volunteers. If I have a full-time staff, I know what hours I work. I'm able to go in there and do all these things, time to creating apps, certain things. When you're a volunteer, I'm not going to do our best, but we have to time. Because
It's a lot. I mean, this is the pin I wanted to get back to. That COVID crew, it's the same. At least in our situation, it just happened to be. But I feel like this is not unique. There's a group counted on because of the and people are less crew. People that were giving their case. I've been these restrictions working in 9 to 5. The evils of telework is you get tempted to work more time, right? But I have been more busy now than I was before. So this thought that everybody had all this free time is not true. And then crews and questions that I have is my staffing to the people that were work COVID to provide can actually take because to go back to business as usual, especially when you keep getting these monkey wrenches of, oh, we're back in the church now. Everything should happen and be exactly how it was. And we'll continue our programming without even notification. Be that we have to about how we plan. Anybody who's down running in the same needs to do it there.
is that it cannot and will not go back to business as usual. If you think that, you already done lost the battle. Next thing that's, I mean, in moves, we need some maintenance issues and, you know, to the, you know, look, I'll peel back the layers of the onion a little bit. Look at that whole mess of wires and computers and screens.
Show it, man. We could have management. Ouch.
Perfect. The reason why is because we had to have infrastructure things together. And that flight kit where we can just have it simple, portable, you pick it up and you take it to the would have saved Bert and you better pull it back and we financially set to try to look them together so that we get bit by this. That's fine. I was willing to do that. Oh, up to a point, but I'm willing to do that because we need it. But the is that not think they're able to stay in, and if it's big fools there.
Is my company's equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, no, the church should be able to of their means tithe and off than it was. If it's not less than that we need to go in this direction, that things that flight kit
Mini Pro.
is
Yeah, one of those. $600 and right, you know, fine old netbook or remember the for $60. You know, we used it. Now it's the ABC. So switch from it, flight kit, old computer, some cable, $10 for some Ethernet cables. In there, you can get real fancy and use another $60 to get some old and all is running right. Your cell phone already had or whatever the du jour is to set you back, but you know, do a 480p stream and you're good to go. There is your disaster readiness emergency flight pack kit for under $800.
Well, as long as you have a decent data plan, you have the beginning. I mean, I'm not gonna limit is 10 people. you can go and record someone 6 feet away, have a miniature mic that plugs into your phone. They're not that expensive.
Well, I mean, this uh, so was when the funeral home, it really did hurt my, it wasn't used. It couldn't zoom in enough to see anything. Kind of using a mic in the middle of the room, a dynamic mic, if you can imagine that, cardioid, to pick up everything that was going on for the stream, capability to stream the actual. So when I got on site, I bendy trotted downstairs here, and I sat under with a burial, and I hit that button for stream, and because it was a lovely sunny day, it looked like I had a really high-end camera pointing there, and decent mics exacted around the and all right, camera had just went, and because you were allowed into the cemetery with that could be there at one time, right? Are greatly appreciative of it. So yeah, that, like we discussed, I think, so it was basic emergency cell phone floor plan, and that has a camera on it, that smart, and cost of that monthly plan is not necessarily cheap, but a lot of people have it. They already have it. So, you can, for us, I don't like saying no because it's hard to buy someone's paying for you. It has an additional cost. If you want to do a multi-camera shoot, A10 Mini Pro.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would throw in a microphone, a lav,
Yeah, somewhere with a shotgun.
It can hear what you're saying and picture that I think it's NFL Network that has like their crews, their talent with setups at home. I think one of the flight kit is Pastor Basic Set or something. A mic and something that they can don't look half.
Honestly, if it's a A10 Mini for $300, hard to find now, but eventually out there and available. And here's a big, say, a switch or even a camera is screen sharing.
Yeah.
This is services don't do it well. And you remember the episode 2, we used this bit rate. My computer just got PowerPoint. Everything looks clear. What is terrible.
point our first any one of us that had a
Correct.
Effective.
Leader
I
nation.
did it. What's it?
Camera, switch, light.
I think two of that the past bought into where were lights. Not by any measure, but
Like the with one of the may not provide.
two men crucial. Now is the time to have someone in your church reaching out to vendors, whether it's local Black-owned businesses that you can help support, or even if you need to go directly, which to start having with these people a better idea of what you think, search and figure you need, then we wouldn't have this forum, because this forum is basically saying we don't even have all the information. That's why we talk to each other. Corel knows stuff about microphones. We had a good conversation about mirrored dynamics by parts, and you could and you're not spending dollars for the original. Really close, and that's that I mean talking to me being able to go to Colin and say, "Hey, I need one of these. Can you get me one?" And I have one. These are
I
things.
got you one.
Yes, these are things that we need to do, and should have taught that we are not. If we're all trying and the wheel, we're all going rather than the information I have, and then we could all be more successful.
I mean,
I agree.
just having the conversations with you fine gentlemen and a few other folks that I know made me look like a genius. But to be, you know, areas where strengths, areas where I was weak, I was able to come and find out the best. When you have to adjust to the situation and do it quickly, you're not always going to be able to sit there. I know in the case with my crew, I wasn't able to sit there and name to them every little thing and then we all work through the way how to had to do it and how to get the church going. More specifically in areas of like integration and thinking through the logistics of how you set up a system and the different delivery. You've had to hit service that has to keep it at a level that we're forward, you know, and again, I'll hit the point. We cannot do business as usual. And so the big thing for us and to set ourselves up success and transfer that means vendor and customer between me you know, that have to work together. You know, we've really forged a very strong relationship with our communication. In terms of the needs that we have, create a lot of graphics fit for like input or for the website, but you know, like the lowly 19 that stuff together has helped us improve the quality of what we're able to do. But the to work that we need to do other people on board logically through these and
We're just going to go around for takeaways. We're talking about building. We're talking about getting to some level of norm, maybe not. Directing your folks you read. Is scholar.
I think really training the one big that now's the time people for this people to better over time.
Trying to pig and say we should know that it's gonna be important. Well, we need to paragraph is being longer. So would this take integrator consideration and thought cute that all of the thing and I think it's gonna be paramount. I might you be young and getting people that have that level of foresight is going to be important, and I think we have to be intentional. I think that is, in terms of media ministries, that is the ministry part of it. It's training our replacements and doing knowledge transfer and paying it for.
Alex, I mean,
well, the big takeaway from it's open conversations that time and may have fallen on deaf ears, or we'll get to it. All right, and I mean with like media folks, with leadership, or with the church congregation, or with the teams that we have, and is I'll cover that as of the pushes that we're and make sure that we use this opportunity to continue the conversation even after things have kind of opened back up, and seize the day with those opportunities to try to have those to help us to move forward, ultimately meet the technical, the church, think ahead of what anticipated future situation to get. We can't. It's just not practical.
And I would say my closing thought is planning. It's not for us to start planning for what things are going to look once your church even to go back in, because a long things are they used to be in potlucks again, where their own meal. We got to think about church in a different way. We got to think about reaching out to people in a different way. And it's not just about it's about how you message, how you people into your infrastructure, and who you speak to, so the if you're a marketing person and you'd like to help us get our message out to more people, you can reach us. You can reach out to me at v at our contact available somehow, but the idea that we to talk things that's really
You good? Not while we're recording.
all right. Where's that fade to black button?